Hello YouTubes, this is Grimweird coming back at you with more Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2. So when last I left you, we had been gathering Manyullyn or Ardite and Cobalt to make Manyullyn in the Nether. Had the digital miner set up there and was collecting a bunch also just by running around. I realized that the reason my ender chest wasn't working is because I wasn't here to keep this one chunk loaded. So I've been farting around. My digital miner continues to work now in a different location. But we've got plenty of Manyullyn now, and we've made plenty of turbines. So this is our advanced generators multi-block structure. The base has to be rectangular, but obviously you can see here I'm not doing that with the rest of it. I'm leaving some spaces open here. I think I can maybe input things here and input things there if I ever need to put other things into it. I might also add extra fuel tanks or extra doodads to the front here, so I'm going to leave room for that. Maybe an EU emitter. We're emitting forge energy now, but if I need to do some industrial craft stuff, I might need one of those, maybe a capacitor, things like that. So I just sort of stuck the rest of them on, however. But if we take a look at what's going on now, we are up to the max 50 Manyullyn turbines. We are generating 60,000 RF per tick, and in theory that is going to use up with 185% fuel efficiency. We are going to be using up 5.4 millibuckets per tick if we're actually generating 60,000 per tick. But one of the things that immediately happened was, now that I have this much power, my induction matrix is full. 3.2 billion RF out of 3.2 billion RF. So we are topped off. In fact, even just plugging this bad boy in after I had used 100 million on my digital miner, I only consumed one melon. So this melon supply may be overkill. I don't know. We'll have to see what our energy draw looks like in the future when we start auto crafting and stuff. So one of the things I want to do now is basically work on my induction matrix here and expand it, because while I like that it's filled up, I would like it to fill up more and have even more on hand. So what I've done is I've started crafting up the bits for that. So we're going to break this bad boy, and it no longer functions, but it does not necessarily lose anything. So inside I've got a basic induction provider, and that basically tells how fast you can input or output your energy. And then we've got an advanced induction cell, and that's got the 3.2 giga. So if we pull that out, where's my thing? Let's see, so here's the guy I just did. You can see capacity 3.2 and stored energy 3.2. So it's not losing that 3.2 billion RF that we had in there. And I've built 3 more, and I'm going to craft it into an elite induction cell in a second. The other thing I did was I created a couple more induction ports. So the induction ports are these guys. Currently I'm using one for input and one for output into the cube. And I thought now that I've got lots of power, and now that I'm thinking about actually doing more powered things, I'd really like a couple more input-output. So I think what I'm going to do is, not 100% sure where I want that, but I think I'm going to put one here and one on the front. At least that way I have one on each of the sides. Alright, so now we're going to go downstairs and we're going to craft up the upgrade to our induction cell. Now you can add a ton of cells in there. They come in the basic, advanced, elite, and ultimate. So you could have like 50, I don't know how big you can get, but you can have a lot of the little cells, or you can mix and match, etc. If we look here, I had one advanced induction cell in there, and I've crafted 3 more. So we're going to upgrade it to the elite induction cell for 25 giga. So let's see, we're going to do that and that. And it doesn't do a good job of placing these energy cubes. And I'm going to put that in there. And now again, we didn't lose any power because you can see the elite induction cell I'm about to build still has the 3.2 giga RF from our loaded up advanced induction cell. So that's good. So we're going from 3.2 to 25, so that's a nice little increase there. So we're going to grab that and we're going to take that back upstairs and plug that in. So the induction ports can't go on an edge, so they can't go anywhere around the perimeter of a side, so you have to put them in the middle. So that's why I did that, if you were wondering. And let's see, my casing went into my stuff. And we're back in business. So I can see barely in there that that's still red, so that's still output. And that's still green, so that's still green, input. We now have 3.21 out of 25.6 giga, and the input is 25,000 per tick. That is the maximum based on the induction, whatever it's called in there. And so that means that this guy is sending out 25,000 per tick to it. You see it sort of hovering 21, 24. So it's pumping stuff out good through here. Everything seems fine. My output of 157 is just the resting state of my ME network currently. So what I'm watching for now is we're actually using, not fast, but we're using some ethylene. And I want to see if it actually uses up enough to start using my melons. This thing is pretty efficient. My melon situation is we're up to 3.25. So that would be what, 50 million that we've put in there. So we're cruising along. So I'm gonna, I guess, jump cut here, and I'm gonna come back in 5 minutes and see if we've used up any melons and see how far we've gotten on filling up our new induction matrix. So I'll be back in 5. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's see, check how we're doing here. We are up to 3.42, so another few 100 million stuff. I think it strikes me that I may as well go ahead. I have all the stuff, so I just started building to upgrade the induction thing in here too for the input-output rate. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and can't remember which side it's on. I think it's on that side, but go ahead and pull that bad boy out. So the basic induction provider, let's go ahead and upgrade that to an advanced one. I think it'll transfer like 200,000 RF per tick or something. So I just started building that stuff. So it does not like to recognize these things, the energy cubes. All right, now we got an advanced one, so we're going from 25,000 RF per tick to 204,000 RF per tick capability on our induction matrix. I don't know that we need that, but better to have it and not need it than not have it. And since I was already making all this stuff and had all this stuff out, may as well get her done. Alrighty. So now we're putting at the max of the induction provider, and we're at 3.5 giga and rising. And we ran through the buffer of this bad boy, and so now we are limited by its production. So now we're inputting at 60,000. And it's still not burning hardly anything. 5.5 millibuckets per tick. Yeah, that's hardly anything. I don't know if this thing will run again in the next couple days. But hey, at least we got it if we need it. If we start sucking vast amounts of power out of this thing, we got the melons and a way to make a lot more melons for the biofuel, for the ethylene to burn in this thing. We are prepared. Alrighty. Let's see. So 3.6 giga. So that's going up nicely. We got lots of power coming in. We've upgraded our power storage. One thing I noticed while making this monstrosity was that we have reached a point in modded Minecraft of which, I'm not an expert at all. I've played some with it. This contraption here is one of the most complicated modded things I've ever done. I've done complicated, builds using vast amounts of redstone, doing things like cactus farms and monster farms and chicken farms and things like that back in the old vanilla days. But what I'm noticing is that this took just a vast amount of crafting. Each little damn piece of it, if we look at the turbine, so it's like, these took things to go through my stamping press, took just vast amounts of iron. All of this, each of these was 6 bars of iron. This was like half a bar iron. This was like several bars iron, whatever. And I'd built like, hundreds and hundreds of iron worth of iron frames to get those 50 turbines. So it just went through a vast amount of iron. Of course, we already know we're going through a vast amount of Manyullyn for the rotors. These guys were annoying because not only did I need tons of aluminum wire going through my metal press, but it was the fact that everything was coming through a different machine. So the Inori crystals, I kept having to run iron over to my actually additions thing and shoot it with a laser beam to get more of those. Meanwhile, my impregnated stick was, I kept waiting on my squeezer to make more seed oil from melon seeds. Thank God I had an easy production for tons and tons of melon seeds. And then it had to go to the carpenter to make the impregnated sticks. Aluminum wire was going through the metal press. And all of this was slowed down by needing just huge amounts of it. So basically what I'm getting at here is I now see why people are absolutely rabid about getting into auto crafting as soon as possible. I didn't quite, I got it, but I didn't get it, if you know what I mean. Now I get it, because this was just a lot of clicking and a lot of running around between machines. So we need to start, now that we have tons of power and tons of power storage, we need to start putting this bad boy to work. We need to start making patterns. We need to start making ME interfaces. We need to start hooking them up to machines. And we need to get out of the business of doing all of the component work manually. We're still doing good. I've made tons of stuff, and now I've started making lots of extras of things. But we're still only, we got this guy topped off. We got a bunch of others, sort of midway used. That one's close to topped off. We've got a couple more drives here filled up, but we still haven't even touched the back half of our current drive capacity. And I do have expansion room, although I don't have the storage installed or created yet. But we're doing good with our ME drive, so now I need to figure out, and I got a lot of learning to do, but I got to figure out how to run all this cables throughout the base, start getting organized about running power and ME cables everywhere, and hooking up lots of machines and getting into the automated stuff. Yeah, I'm surprised I'm not going through ethylene faster. Huh. That is weird. But I'm definitely getting power. Definitely got 60,000 RF per tick going in. We've gone from 3.2 giga RF up to almost 4. So it's a working. I guess I'll just keep an eye on it. This thing doesn't have a lot of internal storage, so I'm not quite sure what it's doing, but I like it. It almost seems a little too good to be true, though. Okay, so that's the plan. We've now got upgraded storage generation. We've got updated updated energy generation, updated energy storage. Now we need to start turning all of this and stuff that I'm doing down here into automated crafting before I go too much farther into all this craziness. So that's probably going to mean tearing down all of these drawers. I haven't decided if I still want to keep some or not, and have them a higher priority than the ME network to keep some stuff that I like visible at hand, but I might try just doing without them. That means we got to machines that do things that we are currently doing by hands, like the alloy furnace will, make all our alloys like steel and etc. instead of smelting them in the manual smelter. I don't think I have an induction furnace yet, so I'm going to need an induction furnace for smelting stuff. I'm going to want to hook up ME interfaces on all of the machines that I use a lot, which is going to be the alloy furnace, the crusher, the metallurgic infuser, the enrichment chamber, maybe the pulverizer and the magma crucible too. Maybe not. I don't use those that much. But yeah, so I'm going to wire higher levels of power to them, because the other thing is that a lot of these, I have them Oops, that's not what I wanted. I only have them at speed 5 out of 8 to conserve energy. I got them at energy upgrades of 8 out of 8. Now that I have a lot more power coming in, I can go ahead and upgrade the speed on some of these more without draining my more limited early game system. So those are the kinds of plans I need to work on. I haven't forgotten about all the magic stuff. We haven't touched magic in a long time. We are going to get back into that. I'm just not sure I need most of this stuff quite yet. There's probably stuff here that I'm missing out on that I don't realize it would be totally awesome to have. But a lot of it, I'm not exactly sure what to do. I've never even touched or read anything about blood magic, so we got to open that up and figure that out. Yeah. I think one of the few things that I would sort of like to get was be one of these. And I could do that. The Horn of the Wild, while it sounds silly, if you hold right click and Horn of the Wild in your hand, it'll harvest all crops and grass in a large radius around you. It's just actually just sort of fun going to plains where there's tons and tons of grass and just holding that, going and like having all the grass around you explode. And it's a good way to look for ender lilies. And while I don't have a huge supply of ender pearls, and won't probably until I get into Ender IO and set up a Enderman farm, only got 14. Ender lilies can also be sort of melted down in the magma crucible from thermal expansion and turned into Enderium, which would get us further up the chain in our harvest level. That's the next thing we're looking for on our harvest level is an Enderium sharpening kit. I've sort of stagnated on getting new hearts, so I'm at, if we look down here, I've filled up the orange bar and I've on 7 yellow bars, but I've sort of stagnated. So I think that means I have 27 hearts, 27 hit points, if you will. But I've most of the obvious food that is around, I have already eaten, so I need more new foods. And to get more new foods, I might have to get into the whole cooking for blockheads thing and start working with like Pam's Harvest Craft to make a bunch of new and interesting foods that I haven't tasted yet. So that's something we could work on, although right now I'm feeling pretty tough with my current armor. It's not, in-game armor, but for what I'm doing, it's pretty tough. I don't feel the need quite yet. I'm sure I will, but I don't feel the need quite yet to go into a big reactor of any kind, like a nuclear craft reactor or an extreme reactor. We got tons of power with our new advanced generator for what we're doing right now. So I think I'll just let that marinate for a while, and then when I start seeing that all of my ME crafting and other stuff that I'm doing starts to dip that input from the advanced generator, I'll start looking into the next stage of energy production. Industrial craft, we still have a ton of stuff to open up here. We could try and do some of that stuff, if for no other reason than to open it up, because that's sort of the goal of all this, is to get to the whole bragging rights and open all the stuff. Advanced rocketry, I don't even know anything about that, so we could look into that. I did look into environmental tech a bit, but I don't think we're quite ready for that. Yeah, so I think absolutely the thing to be working on right now is I already have my pattern terminal here, so I need to make a bunch of patterns, make a bunch of ME interface, run cables for power and ME all throughout a base get things organized for a more high-tech base, and start doing some auto crafting so that when I go into my next project, whether it's a rocket or a nuclear power plant or whatever it is, the crafting will not be quite so mind-numbingly long and clicky as this advanced generator was. And I think that's probably about it for today. I don't know how long I've rambled, but this episode definitely shows some increased capabilities. We've now got apparently way more melons than we need, and way more biofuel than we need, thanks to this setup. We're currently generating 60,000 RF per tick, which is good. We are currently up over 4.5 billion RF stored, with the capability to go up to 25 billion. So that is good, especially since we're only using 157 RF per tick currently. But that will change. So I did already sort of map this out set this up so that I could use this to run cables everywhere. So we'll probably bring this cable over here, and then drop it down behind the wall that my storage crates are on. Probably bring one of the cables over here and drop it down into behind where my metal press is. I might move the metal press out of its prime position, and I might try to make a metal former. I think that's an industrial craft. Yeah, this bad boy. Because it will make a lot of things for me instead of the metal press. I got to read up on this one. I've never built one of these. It'll make plates. That's good. The thing I'm worried about is gears and rods. I don't think there's any way necessarily, or maybe even wires. If we look at one thing I just made a ton of, aluminum wire. Yeah, so you either do that by hand with shears or wire cutters, which is a low yield, or you put it through the metal press. So I don't think we're ever going to get away from the metal press. I'm not sure if there's a way to very well hook this up with an ME interface, so I'll have to look into that. Yeah, so maybe we'll leave that bad boy where it is. I'm also not sure. I got to look into if I start making more industrial craft machines, I might have to put an EU emitter off of this so I can run a cable of EU energy downstairs instead of worrying about conversion issues. That's one of the reasons I left some space up here up front. Yep, so those are the plans. We're going to run power and ME down here. We're going to try to start minimizing our use of the smeltery, minimizing our use of drawers, minimizing our use of the metal press, and we're going to start setting up a lot of banks of machines here once I get all the wires out of the way here and run cables through the walls behind them. I should be able to fit a lot more machines in this area with power coming in through the back, hopefully. And might end up upgrading some of these. So I guess you can upgrade these, the enrichment chamber and the metallurgic infuser, to factories, and then they act like multiple machines at once. So I got to look into that. As opposed to making more of them. But then other machines like the alloy furnace, I might just make a second one because I know I use that a lot. Yeah, I've got a plan. So probably between this episode and next, I will start looking at my cable situation and ME interfaces and trying to figure out how I want to do things. Run the 32 channel cable back down here behind the wall and then split it off into 8 channel cables and attach a bunch of machines to it. Figure out how to make patterns and start making a bunch of patterns for stuff. Let's get some auto crafting up in this business. Alright, that's it. I'm babbling. You know the plan, so if you're interested in any of that, tune in next episode and you will see me cabling and wiring and trying to get auto crafting up and running. Thanks for watching. Bye.